The topic of my talk is the importance of the grand jury. And as you may know, that there has never been, as far as we know, a criminal investigation resulting in a grand jury in this country reference to New York City, the evidence at New York City of pre-planted explosives and controlled demolition. Now, the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 inquiry submitted a grand jury petition in April 10th of last year, amended it in July 30th of last year. That was 54 pages. It had 57 exhibits. Those exhibits are dispositive, we like to say in legal jargon, of controlled demolition of bombs and incendiaries involved in bringing down the towers. We recently, Mick Harrison and myself, talked to the Chief of Terrorism, International Terrorism, Narcotics, Michael Ferreira, because we wanted to know what the progress was, because we had received in November a letter from the U.S. Attorney telling us he had read and reviewed the petition for a grand jury, that he acknowledged the law we cited, which was USC 18, USC 3332A, and that he would comply with the law, which mandates him, it's not discretionary, to call a special grand jury and present that evidence to the grand jury. So, not hearing anything, we have taken it upon ourselves to call them, and what we were told is they could not disclose anything to us because it was all in secret. All right, now our attorneys, and Mick Harrison will be briefly coming up here, he's a litigation director, and other attorneys, we looked into this, and there's case law that shows that we are entitled to certain things, and they call ministerial records and some substantive records. And so what we've done yesterday was filed, the Lawyers Committee, Richard Gage and others to be named, have filed a lawsuit against William Barr, U.S. Attorney, and Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District here in Manhattan. And it's a mandamus lawsuit. It basically says, do what you're supposed to do, convene the grand jury, and it also in part is a suit to disclose public records, because under common law, we're entitled to those records, at least some of them, and under the First Amendment, you have entitlement to those records also. So without getting into the particulars, to let you know that the Lawyers Committee has taken another step further to get a grand jury moving, all right? Now, in that grand jury was 57 exhibits. There are now 60, because a few days ago, we submitted 3 new exhibits. One exhibit has to do with a resolution which Commissioner Joya will talk about. Another exhibit has to do with a report from J. Leroy Halsey that Richard Gage will no doubt talk about. And the third exhibit is something that the Lawyers Committee has done. We've taken a transcript or a deposition over 2 hours of a operating engineer who worked in the towers, or who was familiar with the towers, who knew people that worked in the towers, and he received information that there was, quote, ghost crews or mystery crews coming in for 3 months prior to 9/11 on Saturday from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. They came into those buildings. They did not have to give any identification. They came in an unmarked van, left in an unmarked van. They had no ID on them, no identification on their logo, no logo. They were not required to sign in. They didn't have to log in. There was no work orders for them. There was no checks of insurance to cover whatever they were doing there. They were escorted into the building to the telecommunications room, which is adjacent to the elevators, adjacent to the central columns in the buildings. And we gave that report as an exhibit, Exhibit 60, to the U.S. Attorney to investigate what this gentleman said, this operating engineer, to start connecting the dots. So what we're announcing today to Lawyers Committee is that there is a lawsuit to force, well, hopefully be cooperative, to get a grand jury moving. And there's additional exhibits to give every reason why there should be an investigation. Never a criminal investigation. Now when I say dispositive of controlled demolition, there's a lot of proofs. Some of them you'll see today, but maybe the strongest one to me, besides the nanothermite, it was a military explosive in the dust, etc., the high heat, the gravity fall, is the 155 first responders who said they experienced sounds and sights of explosives. And they were never called to the 9/11 Commission for a statement. We have their statements. If you go to LCfor911.org, you can read the statements on our website. This is going to be a long process. It has been. We have to take it up another level. This is really a spiritual battle. We're in a church. We pray. And whatever evil is out there that's caused this, we want to address it. Good place to start is through prayer. Thank you.